Hello everyone, and welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2. Yes, another second channel video, and this one's going to be about the Compaq Presario 425. I had a couple videos on the main channel about this machine, and if you haven't watched those, I recommend you do first. But in that video, or in those videos, I think it was the second one, I complained about the Sound Blaster card that was in here. It's not a problem, but sometimes what happens is if you have a game like, say, Planet X3 here that uses the Adlib sound on the Sound Blaster, and this would also happen with an Adlib card itself, if you hit Control-Alt-Delete to reboot out of the game without stopping the music first, you can sometimes be left with a continuous note playing from the sound card. And I have the game up here, and if I turn on my little speaker here, there's the music. And watch, I'm gonna hit Control-Delete. When we hit a good note that's gonna last, there it is. The note is just continuing. Well, one of my patrons reached out to me and told me that he came up with a solution to fix this problem. So normally you have to kind of reboot and run another game and then exit out or something like that. But as the computer boots up, take a look at what's gonna happen. There it is, it stopped. So a patron reached out and he wrote a program called RESETOPL, which simply when you run it in your auto exec or anytime in your, you could have it in your path, you could just run it from the command prompt, it will reset the OPL sound chips on your sound card. And as you just heard, it works perfectly. So he has this up on GitHub, so I'll put a link in the description to that. And I just have to say thank you very much for coming up with such a useful program. I'm immediately copying this onto all of my PCs that have sound cards in them because this problem is so annoying. And I mean, I remember having this issue back when I was young and had a PC with a sound card back when they were new and being annoyed by this problem. Apparently, I've Googled, I couldn't find any solution. He also said he looked and didn't find anything, so he wrote it himself. So thumbs up to that awesomeness. Next up, we have a package here, and as you notice, the wood grain tape may give away who this is from. This package comes from none other than Clint, as in LGR. Yes, he has sent me something for this machine. He has mentioned in the comments, but also on his videos, he absolutely loves the Presario 425. I think it was a machine. He put a video out on his channel like 10 years ago. Go check that out if you want to see old school LGR videos. But he saw that when I got one of these, he had something that he wanted to send me to help this machine out a little bit. So I'm just going to cut into this. It's not a normal mail call video, but it is, so to speak. I feel bad cutting through the wood grain tape. I gotta say, I like the wood grain tape though. Very cool. It's actually it's like a duct tape. So it's very hard to cut through. All right. Oh, it's breaking the box here. Inside, readme.txt, LGR. All right, so let's pop this out. Let's check out the README disk here. I just happen to have the Compaq on the bench, so it's perfect for checking out what's on this. Clint, I hope there's no viruses on here or anything, right? I actually had a recent problem where I had several DOS disks get corrupted by like a boot sector virus or some kind of a virus. And I'm trying to think, how did this even originate? I must have made a disk image of something and it ended up screwing up a bunch of my disks. So I did go and clean them. The funny thing is, if you stick a floppy like this into a Windows 10 machine, I have a USB floppy drive, it actually detected the virus on the disk. So I went and put all my PC disks in there, found all the ones that had the virus, and then I formatted them and then re-imaged them. But anyhow, okay, here we go, readme.txt. Why don't we use VI? Readme.txt instead of the usual edit. I particularly like the DOS version of VI. There we go. Whoops. Maybe if I put the path properly. So we got to put a colon here. FreeVI. It's a great little program. Greetings, Adrian, and welcome to an LGR note written in DOS thing. I hope you get some enjoyment out of the overdrive. 100 megahertz is all kind of amusing on a 46 of any kind, but especially when it's installed inside a Presario 425. The fact that it can even make a half-decent attempt at Quake and Duke 3D at 320 by 200 is just great. Also, the particular overdrive I sent is the ODPR variant, which is distinct from the ODP. The Presario 425s, both of them, using a motherboard jumper. However, the ODP version has the additional pin underneath. All right. So I mentioned that in the video for this machine, that it can easily just take a stock CPU in the typical 487SX socket, and that is not always the case. Some motherboards require you to either physically mod the motherboard or use a chip like an overdrive or the 46SX chip that is designed to go in that socket. He goes on to say it's an additional pin towards the middle of the CPU, which I guess takes it from being a PGA 168 to a PGA 169. Nice. Yeah, that's the overdrive pin. I think it doesn't actually do anything. It's not connected to anything. The pin that actually disables the onboard quad flat pack 46 or 46SX chip, there is a pin that disables that on these motherboards so that the coprocessor, which is actually a regular 46, takes over. That is one of the other pins on the socket, on the regular PGA socket. What is he? Yeah, PGA 168. But it's just grounded. It simply gets grounded, and that disables the onboard processor. So that's the mod you can do. You just add a wire from that to ground, and it will disable the onboard processor. But this machine, as I said in the video about it, has a jumper to do that. So the extra pin that this has that makes it 169 pins is not actually doing anything except probably makes it impossible to plug these things into a normal socket. Because some sockets there's a blank, it's solid right there, so that pin can't go in. Anyways, he says, whatever, that's just my understanding. I sent you the ODPR since it's the most versatile and you can use it to replace other compatible 46 CPUs as desired. I guess the R in ODPR stands for replacement. Good times. Anyways, hope you have some good, clean, overdriven fun, and I look forward to more Adrian-infused basement antics as they come along. All the best, Clint. Sweet, thank you very much, Clint. And as he said, he has sent along an overdrive processor, and it's a boxed one. It's not just boxed, it's shrink wrapped. I think he threw a sticker in here. Here it is, I just saw that. Whoops. Oh, look. It's an LGR case badge. I love it. Yes, I definitely have some computers I can use this on. It doesn't really go on the Compaq though. It doesn't have space for that. But I have some clone machines that will work great on. But there it is. The boxed Intel overdrive processor. It's a DX4 486. It's designed for 33 megahertz machines. Like this one. I mean, it was 25 originally, but now it is 33, and then it has a 66 megahertz processor in there. And look at that upgrade path from 33 megahertz all the way to 100 megahertz. Amazing. And I'm not going to do particular benchmarks on this chip. Lots of other channels have done that. In fact, I think I recently watched a CPU Galaxy video on that. Although maybe he was testing, I think there's like an 83 megahertz version, or no, that's the Pentium, isn't it? I don't know, I recently saw a video on this. If you haven't seen the CPU Galaxy, I recommend you check out that channel. It's fantastic for the retro enthusiast who loves this old PC stuff. He has such cool set of processors in his collection, and he tests them out on all these old motherboards and stuff. It's fascinating stuff. But this is going to be a really excellent upgrade to this thing from the mere 66 megahertz up to the nice 100. Oh, the one thing I'm curious about, does this add any additional cache memory? I don't know if it does. I don't think so. So the 46 DX266 I have in here has what, 8 megs of level 1 cache, and this motherboard has no level 2 cache, which is definitely a performance hamper, or it slows down the performance over what you could get out of the DX266. I think this still has 8K of cache. It doesn't increase that. There are some processors out there that have more L2 cache, 16K I think. And of course the Pentium overdrive, the one that would upgrade a 46 to a Pentium, 83 megahertz, that would most likely have some more cache in it as well. But anyhow, time to open this up and open the computer up and throw it inside. So yes, even though it's a beautiful box copy, it's just incredibly generous, I am not going to keep this sealed. This is going into the Presario. Oh, the pull tab didn't pull. Let's try it from the other side. Much better. Oh, the whole top came off. How rude. Look at the glue. It's kind of dry and crusty there. Boxed goodness. This is nice. Oh, look at that. A PGA chip lifter. Intel. Now, the sad thing is, I made a video talking about this part, and I first saw it on CPU Galaxy, to be honest. And a very kind viewer offered to send me one of these. He had an extra, and I'm sorry, whoever you are, because now I'm gonna have a redundant one. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. But it's so cool. Okay, anyways, let's see about the processor that's in here. All right, we'll put the box over here on top of the computer. There it is. Intel Overdrive. Reclosable chip container. Okay, it's just a piece of cardboard. Very nice. But there it is. There's the processor. Look at that. Integrated heat sink. No fan. But that's great because remember I stuck a heatsink on the DX266 that's in there. This being a DX4 100 definitely needs heat sinking. And I can't just use a regular DX4 in this computer. And that's because the 66 megahertz and all the slower processors run at 5 volts. This one runs at 3.3 volts. And I actually have a 46 AMD chip that's an 80 megahertz. It's also 3.3 volts. You can't just put it into this thing. So on here, when I open it up, you will see that there are additional voltage regulators. Okay, I'll figure out how to open this up in a second, but there's voltage regulators on the kind of stuck on top of the die under the heatsink there to bring that 5 volts down to 3.3. All right, let's just quickly check the manual here. There is a floppy in there. Let's see what that's all about. Probably has a disc to show you how awesome and fast your purchase was, because this was probably expensive at the time. Intel Overdrive Processor Demonstration and Diagnostics. Okay, we'll check that out in a second. What I would like to show is some performance issues. Oh, stop beeping at me. There we go. What I want to show is some performance problems I've been having on this computer that hopefully this chip will fix. Now, DX266, it's completely understandable what it does. You know, we all know how fast that is. It's a very good processor at the time, but I'd like it to be a little bit faster because I love playing mod files. It's just something I like to do. And I use CP or Cubic Player here. And let's just play a mod. I noticed, first we'll start with the venerable space debris here. Okay, so 4-channel mod, playing okay. I mean, there's no problems with the sound. It is running in 16-bit mode. The mixing speed, I think, is at 44 kilohertz. So it sounds really good. It's stereo. But if you notice the analyzer here, the update rate's pretty slow and pathetic. Not great, but it doesn't affect the sound. It's playing back perfectly. But if we pick something with more channels, like this file right here, it's working right now okay, but watch when more channels come in. Okay, so far so good. I should have picked one I knew would screw up right from the beginning. Here we go. That is not working correctly. There is not enough performance, and obviously you can see that the screen update is just almost dead here, and the music is skipping and stuttering. In fact, let's see, we'll go up to the top here. I know this file totally doesn't work right. This is an impulse tracker file. It's playing way too slow, it's skipping. So yes, I'm gonna use this as my benchmark to see if popping in the overdrive chip results in improved performance. I mean, this is so bad. Here's the actual main part. Here we go. Now there are a lot of channels here. Like this is a lot of, I'm not expecting that this file will actually play with this 486. This requires a Pentium, but even a Pentium 133, no problem with this file at all. It plays super fast. You know, the analyzer runs at 60 frames per second. So the 486, there's a huge performance gain by going to a Pentium. So I'm not expecting miracles, but I'm expecting good things. So time to put this in. Got the Torx bit here. I think this is the right one. Yes, it is. So I really need a better set of screwdrivers. I'm using this like, I don't know, AliExpress thing, and all the case broke. So these are all the bits. I just sort of keep them in this little box here. I think there was originally wires in there or something. It does the trick. It just is hard to find the right bit because they're all just randomly jumbled in there. So there we go. There it is. Actually, what I am curious, this has been running. I've had the machine running for quite a while. How hot is the old processor down here? The 486 that I have the heatsink on. Oh, you know what? It's warm. Okay, that's actually quite warm. Yeah. At first I was like, that's not warm at all. But when I touch the side, yeah, that's actually quite hot. Okay. So yes, time to take this thing apart a little bit more. With the old Sound Blaster 16. Oh, look at that. All right, I'm gonna use the old PGA lifter here. I'm excited about this. Oh, that makes it so easy. Oh, I know I'm not showing it very clearly what I'm doing here, but it just goes under the chip. Unfortunately, the RAM's in the way, so I'm just gonna do 2 sides and hope that's enough. Oh boy, this is a great, great tool. How did I live without this for so long? Okay, I'm gonna try to get it under. Oh, okay, I think I might have to take the RAM out here. Yes, RAM is gonna have to come out. Actually, this will give me a good idea. Someone made the suggestion that the 4 megs on board is shared with one of these 2 SIM slots. One of these SIMs is 4 megs, one is 8 meg. Well, I wrote 8 meg, but it only sees them as 4 and 4. And I'm wondering if that's because I need to swap them around. So I'm going to put these back in if they don't break. Don't break, please. There we go. That one didn't break. And let's get this one out. I'm going to put these back in the swapped configuration. Maybe we will get 16 megs of RAM on this computer, because right now it is only seeing 4. Or sorry, not 4, 12 total. So there we go. There is the DX266. This socket has space for that extra pin right there. That would be for that particular overdrive processor or the 46 or 47SX that would go in this socket. If you plug a processor in like the DX2 I had in here, where is it? It's right here. It doesn't have that extra pin there. So that pin doesn't do anything. But I think some motherboard sockets, that is blanked out. That would prevent you from plugging in, say, the overdrive chip here that Clint has sent me. This one doesn't have that pin, so this would go into any socket. But the one that has that pin needs a socket where that's not blanked out, where that's not solid, so you can put the chip in there. So it's pretty crappy that Intel did such shenanigans, but you know, corporate economics, I guess that is, right? All right, I had to use scissors to cut the blister packaging on this processor. So annoying. All right, there it is. It's the overdrive. Excellent, so nice. Let's turn this around, and there's the voltage regulator right there. Couple passives, sort of has a little notch cut out of the heatsink just to allow that to be possible. All right, so the notch is up here where that extra pin is. This does not have it. I'm gonna stick this in to the motherboard. Come on. I think there's actually a bent pin on this because it is not going in. Brand new out of the box, and it does have a pin that's just slightly bent. It's right there, it's that one. Hopefully that's visible. Nothing I can't fix, but that's interesting that it came out of the box that way. I'm gonna use the little Intel tool here to fix that bent pin. Where is it? There it is, I see it. Right, let's try that again. It's like when you're putting these in, you just never want to force anything. There it is. Now it's in. Well, it's not in all the way, but it does not have a bent pin now. So now we got to give this the old push, pushy push. Oh, this socket is so stiff. So the RAM, I had the 8 meg sim, which is this one here, made by IBM, in this slot closer to me. I am going to put this in this slot. There we go. Certainly it's close to the chip, but it is not touching it. And this other sim, which is a Compaq branded one, there like that. Boy, this motherboard. Alrighty, and sound card goes back in. Now, I didn't even check the jumpers, but that is because I had already changed them when I installed the DX266 to be 33 megahertz. And that's all that's really necessary as far as I'm aware. If this doesn't work, okay, you know what? Before I turn it on, I'll just do a quick check of the jumpers settings on the bottom here. It does say there's a slightly different configuration for overdrive, but I think that's for the other version of the overdrive that Clint was mentioning, the one that has that extra pin on it that this one does not have. So I think this one just will work. So I'm just going to install it just like this back in the machine. Alrighty, time to turn it on. Working? Not working? I mean, I changed the RAM. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Oh, we got a flashing cursor. Good sign. Let's see if we get 16 megs of RAM. That's what I was hoping. No, it did not change. It's still 12 megabytes. So I'm pretty sure those are 8 meg sims. It's funny, it didn't say processor has changed or anything. So even though you got a processor upgrade, it doesn't know. It's oblivious, but I will check the CPU. So let's see, I have check CPU, I think it's called. Yes. Let's see what this says. And there we go, DX4, 100 megahertz, 3.0 clock multiplier. So the bus is 33.5, it's times 3. Excellent. I have the old cache check as well. Let's just quickly run this, see if this will tell us what is the cache configuration. What's happening here? It's just sitting there. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, actually I got to reboot because it's running with EMM386 and that it does not like that. So do the old Control-Alt-Delete and let's boot safe mode. I got to load Phil's Computer Lab boot menus on here. The ones he's set up, you can download those from his website. You can have all the various EMM386, high mem sys, either, both, no, neither, CD-ROM drive, etc., etc. I just held down Shift, which completely bypassed the entire config and auto exec. Bat, cache check. Oops. There we go. Well, while this runs, it's still checking the speeds. I was taking a look at the registration card and notice here that it looks like it's got Korean and Japanese. I think that's Japanese and English as well. So I was like, what's that all about? Right? Maybe that's Chinese actually. Well, taking a look inside, it's also got 3 different languages and this is definitely Korean. Yeah, this is actually Chinese, not Japanese. It's kanji. And we have English. And if I look here at the bottom, here are the addresses. We have Australia. We have, what is this? Is this Taiwan probably? Singapore, and then we have something in China and also Korean. So this is clearly for that Asia Pacific region, hence the Australia and Singapore and stuff like that. So that's where I guess this processor came from. I think Clint mentioned he ended up buying a whole bunch of them at some point. So he had excess, but there, yeah, there's the Chinese in the manual and there is the Korean. So yeah, cool, look at that, word perfect. Gotta run your word perfect at full speed. All right, here it is, here is the results. All right, awesome. So this does have 16 kilobytes of cache, which is running at 102 megabytes per second, which I think, as I pointed out in my last video on this machine, that seems to run at the clock speed of the computer, basically the level 1 cache, but there's twice as much. So that should provide a decent performance uplift. Main memory speed is a little bit faster, but hardly that much because we're hampered by that 33 megahertz bus and the lack of level 2 cache on the motherboard. So I'm going to run Cubic Player here and let's take a look if we can play any of those mod files a little bit better. So first I'm going to start with Space Debris. See if, oh hey, the visualizer is running much better. It's at 60 frames a second now. Great mod, by the way. If you don't know this mod file, I have probably listened to this a billion times in my life. So I think it was this silver.s3m that we were playing before that was struggling once it started playing more notes. Oh, this is a good sign, a good sign. Oh, it's struggling, but it's not skipping. Okay, it's skipping now. All right, well, so, so let's try out this impulse tracker file here that I doubt it's gonna work. I mean, the S3M wasn't working, so yeah. It's gonna have a problem. But hey, right away, there is definitely a performance uplift, and anything is a good thing. Yeah, okay, struggling. It's very much struggling. But of course, 4-channel mods play perfectly, and the analyzer runs at full speed now, which is pretty sweet. Of course, you could drop to a DOS shell. Let's see if does it struggle? Edit. Oh, you know, it's funny. I'm actually running right now with no auto exec and config sys, and yet the music is playing. So I think the sound card got configured on the previous boot, and Control-Alt-Delete didn't affect it. But anyways, look at that. So I'm running edit right now with no issue, even though it's playing a mod in the background. So yes, even DOS can multitask to some extent. There's Cubic Player. I'm using Open Cubic Player 2.6. And if we type exit, we'll get right back to the mod player. Isn't that cool? So that's gonna be it for this video. I wanna thank LGR again for sending in this awesome processor upgrade for the good old Compaq. And then I also wanna thank my patron, Michael, who came up with that awesome program to reset the OPL chip on reboot. So please check that out. Of course, check out LGR's channel if you haven't. Well, channels is LGR Blurbs, and he has a cooking channel as well, and the whole LGR empire that exists out there. And I want to thank all my patrons who have been supporting me. It is absolutely fantastic. And thank you to everyone who sent in stuff for mail call. This was, of course, a mini call, a making that like I can't even speak. Mail call on the second channel. Thanks for watching my second channel. Subscribe, it really helps me. This channel is just getting started. And of course, check out my main channel if you haven't already seen that. And I think that's it. You know, comment and subscribe and thumbs up and all those good things. And that's going to be it. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.